Joining me today for our conversation is Reform councillor Russell Quirk. I have to say that bit now. Regular here on Talk. You'll know him very well.
Well, I'm glad you're saying it. I'm proud of it.
I'm fascinated. Well, exactly. I mean, you were a Tory councillor many years back. You defected to Reform. Interestingly, before we go on to other stories, 20 Tory councillors have defected to Reform today. It's just been announced. There's thousands of press releases coming out of Reform today during the Tory Party conference. And interesting, a poll showing that 2 in 3 Tory Party members want a pact with Reform in the next election. Where do you stand on all of that?
So 20 is just a drop in the ocean, isn't it? I mean, it's good timing. I mean, it doesn't say much for Kemi Badenoch and Chris Philp's speeches, does it? That 20 dyed-in-the-wool card-carrying members of the Conservative Party immediately resign and come over to Reform. Obviously,
come on, they'd have been planning to do it for a while.
No, I'm sure it was very spontaneous, Julia. Where do I stand on the pact? Absolutely not.
I would think it would hurt the Tories and hurt Reform.
Well, it would hurt Reform because we don't want loads and loads of particularly wet Tories that are responsible.
The third of the party that's Lib Dem, basically.
Well, if not more than that. The Cleverleys and the Bucklands and the Greaves of this world, yes, who of course have already come out in deference to Kemi Badenoch to say that they don't want to leave the ECHR. I mean, how do you square that circle, Kemi? That's a bit of a problem.
She said they can't stand as an MP. They can't.
But they're still influential. They're still on the media and so on. So look, should there be a pact? No, Reform doesn't need to do a pact with the Tories.
They're way ahead in the polls.
The Tories are dead. The Tories are dead. And you know what?
Do you think though? No, come on. Do you think though, after an election, if we have got Labour and the Lib Dems and the Greens and everything looking at a pact, that Reform would absolutely go into a pact with the Tories?
What you're saying? If the Tories became kingmaker?
If it became, yes.
I seriously, genuinely can look you in the eye and say that's not going to happen. Look at the polls, and we've literally only just got started. I mean, Labour are going to get worse. The Conservatives are going to become increasingly irrelevant. They can try and play catch-up with Reform, all they like, with all this stuff about all the ECHR and deportations and
But it does look like catch-up.
They're playing catch-up.
Yeah, I mean, every single
but Julia,
policy,
no one believes them.
That's the thing.
They had their time.
OK, well, there you are then. That's what's going on at party conference today in Manchester. But let's also talk about, obviously, this anniversary, October the 7th, and various different universities and various other organisations are holding events today. They are, I mean, rather absurdly, I think, calling these events to honour our martyrs and celebrate 2 years of resistance. But we saw what was going on, not just, after the Manchester synagogue attack last Thursday, events that day, the Friday and on the Saturday all went ahead. They're called pro-Palestinian. They claim to be worried about innocent babies dying in Gaza, which we should all be concerned about in any war, not just happening in Gaza. But really, they hate Israel, and the only reason they hate Israel is because they hate Jews. They just don't like to say it. I do wish they'd just be a bit more honest about it. I think it's now really, really clear. If you're going on one of these events and you go to an event on the anniversary of October the 7th, the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, or if you go along on the day of a murdering of Jews in a synagogue on the holiest day of their calendar, I think we know what you really think. I think you should be more honest with us. I think you should tell us what you actually think. I think you should tell us that you think that this is a fascist flag. Well, I proudly have this flag in my bag, and I've had it in my bag I have my England flags, I have my Union flags, but I have this Israeli flag in my bag for the last few weeks. And the reason why I have it is so that when I'm on the train home and those idiots get on and they wear their kaffirs, and they have the little Palestinian flags, and they're all over my tube route home, I get my flag out and I put that on.
What do you say to them?
Oh, well, they tell me I'm a disgusting genocidal baby killer. I mean, again, I have never worked out how I managed to do 2 jobs at the same time, which is being a genocidal baby killer and also a radio presenter, because it's quite difficult to juggle. I'm a woman, I can do these. And I'm not being glib about, babies dying. Babies are dying, children are dying, innocent people are dying, because it's a war. And the war was started by the Hamas terrorists who plotted for years to do what they did on October the 7th. And I do not know how anybody can look themselves in the face. I mean, especially a student. I mean, my daughter's just gone off to uni. If my kid or any of her friends or anyone, if I found out they went to one of these events on this day, I mean, don't come home. Literally, don't come home. You are not welcome. Do not come home. I have failed as a parent. No, I have failed as a parent at that point, because you are lacking all decency and morality, and you're ignorant, because you cannot be at these demos. You cannot do this if you know what actually happened. Now, I was in Israel recently. I know I've talked about this before. There's a lot of footage today talking to families of those who were taken hostage, some dead, some alive, looking at, the Nero's kibbutz, that's a lot of people have been walking around that, the Nova Music Festival, and the sites where people were killed en masse. And I've been to all those places, and you can still smell the burning bodies at the kibbutz. You can still smell them. It is unbelievable. I mean, only like a handful of houses weren't burned out of the 200 that were there. The number of people, the children, there children's tricycles outside their homes where they were burnt alive. Hamas took footage of themselves laughing and joking. I went to the military base where those 4 young women we had those women who were released, and they had their fists in the air when they were finally released, and they were held captive for months and months on end. And they were taken captive. Dozens of their female colleagues, none of them armed, by the way. They were new recruits. They were 18, 19, 20. They weren't allowed weapons. They were observers. They were observers of the border. And they were slaughtered. And then they were forced to sit for 3 hours while the terrorists ate food, spat on them, and drank and laughed, sitting in the blood of their new, military comrades. These girls were in their pyjamas and they were taken captive. I've been in that room, and I've been with their friends who survived that attack. I mean, once you have done that, once you know the reality of the awfulness, just the sheer animalistic awfulness of what happened on that day, the idea that you could go on a sodding Honour Our Martyrs 2 years of resistance march today shows that you just don't have any humanity at all.
Is it any different? Is it any different in history to someone going out to protest, or rather celebrate, that's the word, celebrate, and again I'm using massive inverted commas here, it's not me saying this, but this is how this seems to be from the point of view of these warped, vile individuals that we're talking about here. Isn't it the same as someone that would go out and celebrate the success of Auschwitz?
Yes.
Isn't it the same?
Is.
Isn't it the same? Isn't it?
It's on a different scale, but they would have
different
loved
time, different countries,
given that Hamas has said repeatedly they would carry out October the 7th every single day they could. Their from the river to the sea, globalised intifada means the destruction of Israel and all Jews.
Yep.
I mean, oh, by the way, and then us next, those non-Jews, atheists, Christians, us next. That's what it means.
Yes,
it's just a less successful Holocaust.
Yes, and it's it almost seems, because it's because it seems to be supported by so many people in this country now, which of course back in the 1930s and 40s, Auschwitz and anti-Semitism and exterminating millions of Jews, wasn't. It was seen as
people didn't
rather
know.
Unpopular.
People were unaware. Even the British authorities were unaware of the scale and the industrial.
But we've learned no lessons as a Western society.
Never again.
Have we?
Never again. It's just happened again.
Not happened. Happening. It's happening, isn't it?
Should these protests be banned? Should the Prime Minister plead? I mean, they pleaded at the weekend, and they're pleading today.
Look, the easy answer, Julia, is yes, because it's abhorrent and it's vile, and these people are disgraceful, disgusting human beings. They are celebrating a Holocaust on October the 7th, 2023, and they are Semites. They are celebrating anti-Semitism. Should we ban protest?
What you are.
Should we ban protest? I'm afraid not. What we should do is to ban criminality, which by very definition is already banned. The police need to do their jobs. Yes, they've arrested a few people for having Palestine Action T-shirts. I don't see them arresting too many people that are calling for intifada and river to the sea and death to Christians and and so on. I think your caller earlier, I think it was Nigel, was bang on in terms of what is happening to these people that are being arrested. Someone needs to do an FOI.
Are they being
find
charged?
Out, are these people being charged?
Well, of course,
and taken through the system?
We know this stuff takes months and months because we're utterly hopeless.
Unless you're Lucy Connolly or Peter Lynch.
Connolly, I mean, again, this is the extraordinary thing, isn't it? It's very interesting. I think David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, he attended
I still
vigil.
Can't not laugh at
the idea, I know, but he attended this vigil on Friday, where he got heckled and booed in Manchester in the pouring rain, and people just shouting and booing him the whole time. I am reliably informed that he told one of the organisers of that event, I took one for the team. That he was sent, that Keir Starmer knew perfectly well he was going to be facing that sort of heckling. They couldn't send anyone more junior than the Deputy Prime Minister, so they sent him a man who'd accused Israel of genocide, talked about baby killers. And again, so when the killer in the Manchester mosque, when he shouted through the doors as he tried to get in to kill men, women and children praying on Yom Kippur, that this is for the children. Basically, people like David Lammy have helped create the lies, and it is a lie about genocide, genocide in Uyghurs. It's not happening. It's simply not brought out by any of the facts. And the British government in documents a couple of weeks ago have acknowledged that, just don't like to say it, publicly. And then they send him up, of all people, to Manchester, and he gets, and his view, he's not contrite. He doesn't think, wow, maybe I've done or said something that has earned that. He told the organisers, I took one for the team.
Yeah, he's there not because of his moral, humane duty. Yeah. He's there as part of his work description.
Yeah.
And look, let's not forget, this is a government that has legitimised the so-called state of Palestine by saying that they recognise it as a state.
Yeah.
Is it any wonder that the 250,000 Jews in this country are rather perturbed by our government having turned on them and rewarded terrorism?
Absolutely. Let's talk about who's really to blame for the divisiveness in this country.
Me.
And that, of course, you. And people like you, angry middle-aged white men. I like to think, I'm genuinely really upset that angry middle-aged white women haven't come in for enough. I mean, Karens, that's what I'm a Karen. Gary Neville, erstwhile football captain and now Sky Sports pundit, he did this absurd video. I love these videos. They think they're Verve and they're Unfinished Symphony and they're doing these videos themselves walking along. Yeah. I mean, look at me. I mean, I know I'm on the sort of the telly box. I mean, but seriously, come on, people. And he basically I hate these people, put their Union flags and England flags, and he take them off the construction site, a £40 million construction site that he owns and he's part of. And he says this is dividing the nation. He blamed division in this country on angry middle-aged white men. I'm so grateful for angry middle-aged white men who are standing up, and angry middle-aged white women who are standing up for this country. But it's also black and Asian angry middle-aged men and women who are also saying enough is enough. We're not putting up with it anymore. The divisiveness has not come from those people. No, Why does he say this? I mean, is he just he's just another football pundit called Gary who doesn't know what he's talking about? Or is he actually rather more sinister than that?
No, he's a thick footballer, isn't he? Let's be clear.
I don't think he's thick.
Well, no,
he's not
I think
thick.
He is. No, I think he's thick on the basis that he sees it through that lens that somehow, but don't forget, he's talking about the context of the murders in that Manchester synagogue. Yeah. I mean, so of course I think he's completely thick if he thinks that somehow someone like me, that is worried about the direction of travel of this once great country of ours, that I'm somehow, because I call it out, particularly those of us that now are doing something about it by way of standing for election, that I'm complicit and an enabler of such things. I would suggest that the enablers are those that are blowing up buses, stabbing people and being terrorists, frankly.
And also the other enablers are the people who say don't talk about grooming gangs because we want to have a more community cohesion.
I suggest that, there are certain Garys in the commentariat that might have headed the ball a bit too much in their careers. But
there is that.
Do you know what?
It's a weird thing, isn't it?
I googled Gary Neville England flag, and do you know what comes up time and time again is when Gary Neville took the cap to play for England, and guess what he had on his chest? The England flag. Gary, you can't have it both ways. You can't be proud of it when you're on the pitch, when you're trying to make a name for yourself and be famous and earn a few quid through sponsorship and so on. And then, because now you've decided you want to stay relevant by being political, walk along and decry the national flag. I would suggest that people should actually boycott that £40 million property development.
Well,
don't buy Gary Neville's rubbish.
Well, this is the thing, go with the consequences. But also, I mean, the man is such a hypocrite on issues. And again, he talks about Israel, has his opinions on these things. But, he takes money from Qatar. Qatar, and I do not understand why. I mean, Qatar, which owns most of London now, I think it might own part of the building complex that we're in right now. I mean, I'm sorry, Qatar is a terrorist state. Qatar, they harbour terrorists. Yes. They literally harbour half the terrorists in the Middle East. Why are people doing business with them? Why are people treating Qatar as if it's because of money? And I'm sorry, there are an awful lot of people, and Gary Lineker among them, and Gary Neville. You take that money, and then you have your opinions, and I'm thinking we're entitled. I'm accused, as I say, of taking money from never taken a penny. Literally don't want to accept a dinner, nothing, so that you can never claim my views on my views based on basically as a having a brain, having a heart, and having a soul, and having a sense of morality. It's just utterly bizarre. But it's interesting. The builders on his own construction site, they're fed up because they're not ashamed of their flag. Well, anyone who thinks that flying a Union flag or flying the England flag is in any way divisive, they're the problem. You are part of the problem. There is no other country in the whole world where people are ashamed of their flag.
Did you hear about Essex County Council?
Oh God, what have they done now?
They sent out an email 3 weeks ago to their staff saying that this proliferation of national flags along motorway gantries and central reservations and fences might offend you. If you are offended, now I kid you not, I'm not making this up.
If you are offended, sod off.
If you are offended and you have anxiety, we are here to help.
Oh, give me a...
Seriously, Essex County, Tory-controlled Essex County Council. Sorry, I had to get a political...
Had to get in. Reform councillor Russell Quirk talking there. But no, but that is us. If you're offended, so what? I'm driving wait for the day on Sunday, take my daughter off to uni, and I saw lots of Union flags and England flags lampposts. I felt great seeing. No, genuinely, I look at them and I feel great seeing them.
I do. The same as when I go to the United States and there's a a Stars and Stripes in every front yard. I think good.
And we sort of in the British, okay, we're not like that in Britain. We're a bit more understated, but I like that. I like the pride in the country. I mean, I think it's a tiny bit misplaced. The greatest place in the world. It's not the greatest place in the world to live. It really isn't. I mean, all the stats show that. But I just find it really bizarre that people feel this way. And what do you make? Let's talk about Robert Jenrick as well. Should we play a little recording, just for those who've not heard it, of Robert Jenrick? He's the Shadow Justice Secretary. He's talking about judges and pro-migrant activism and the like today, but actually he's really in the news because of what the Guardian think of as a gotcha over some comments he made about a visit to the Handsworth ward in Birmingham. Have a watch and a listen.
In Birmingham the other day to do a video on litter, and it was absolutely appalling. It's as close as I've come to a slum in this country. But the other thing that I noticed there was that it was one of the worst integrated places that I've ever been to. In fact, in the hour and a half that I was filming with news there, I didn't see another white face. And that's not the kind of country I want to live in. I want to live in a country where people are properly integrated. It's not about the colour of your skin or your faith. Of course it isn't. But I want people to be living alongside each other, not parallel lives. That's not the right way we want to live as a country.
I mean, I can't see anything wrong. He's pointing out a fact. He's been to zero, and I looked up the stats. Handsworth Borough ward is, I mean, it's lots of deprivation, and 91% of people are non-white, 60% are Asian. It's a Muslim majority. More than a third of people only speak English as a second language, and about half of those don't speak English at all or well. Well, you're not going to integrate, are you? You're not going to integrate. I mean, if you go to sort of the middle of nowhere, little village in Devon, you're probably only going to see white faces. And the Guardian will be like, oh, isn't this ghastly, the countryside, and there's too many white people. It's a white country. You don't go to Nigeria and go, oh, look at all the black people. I mean, I lived in the Bahamas for 6 months. Well, I mean, great job, au pairing, brilliant. Try and get a job doing that. I lived with a black family. I lived in an entirely black area, apart from, old white tourists coming by. I mean, I didn't sit there going, oh, where are all the white people? Why aren't we integrated? It's a black country.
And why aren't they integrating with me?
Yes. With me. I mean, it's just so bizarre. I mean, he's making a perfectly reasonable point. I didn't see another white face. Last time I was in Birmingham was actually for a party conference, and I remember going off to do some shopping in the afternoon, and I walked through the main shopping area in Birmingham, and I was born in Birmingham, lived there till I was 7. I was stunned. I mean, genuinely, I barely saw a white face, and an awful lot of people, again, women in hijabs and the like. It was quite shocking. And I live in central London. I live in an area, again, lots of different faiths. I'm quite used to annoyingly, seeing burqas. I think that burqas should be banned in this country. But I'm used to seeing people of every colour, every faith. That's completely the norm living in London. And I was shocked by how, again, not integrated, not multi-ethnic, but literally it was kind of one ethnicity, one faith where I was. And he's pointing out that people are not properly integrated. And this is the reality. When the left talk about having a multicultural, multi-ethnic society, what they mean is there are some black children and some Asian children at my daughter's school. And there's a wonderful delicatessen at the end of the road. And I've got a Romanian cleaner. I mean, that's what they mean. They are not talking about whole areas, whole neighbourhoods, whole high streets that have changed beyond recognition in just 10 years. Beyond recognition, with a lot of people who don't speak the language, don't integrate, or don't speak the language well enough to integrate, and who have basically come to this country, brought their own culture, rules, way of life, and have no intention of making a life here in Britain. They have brought their country here to Britain. I didn't sign up to that. The British public didn't sign up to that. It's not racist to say we don't want that. It's not a bad thing to say we don't think it's a good idea. How's that working out for everybody? I would say not very well.
Yes.
And Robert Jenrick is just saying the stuff which I have a funny feeling that he was quite happy for this tape to go out there.
Yeah,
and
he may even leaked it himself.
Almost certainly has leaked it himself. But because The Guardian will do their whole this is terrible. And every normal person, black, white and Asian in this country who's sensible and wants to live a life in Britain, that has got British values, will be going, I don't know what he said that's wrong.
Yeah. So this is him putting the spotlight on multiculturalism. The fact that certain people, Sadiq Khan, Keir Starmer and others, say that multiculturalism is our greatest strength. I mean, that's inherent rubbish.
Nope.
I mean, because it hasn't happened, because we do have this ghettoisation of certain cities, parts of London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds and so on.
Yep.
He's pointing out what I would say is the bleeding obvious.
Yep.
Fair play to him. He's calling out the disparity. And yes, the fact that we're importing other cultures whereby it's not multiculturalism, it's not integration, it is another culture in huge parts of our cities. That's what he's doing. The way this, of course, is being kind of set out today and perceived is, of course, yes, as you say, as this gotcha thing. It really isn't.
No, it really isn't.
And The Guardian and The Independent and The Mirror can try all they like. But it's just pointing out facts. If we don't point out facts and debate the facts, then we'll never find a solution.
And then they're pointing out, we didn't see another white face, but he's literally in the sentence before and the sentence afterwards is making the point about not about that. It's the fact that it's really obvious. And people say we haven't spoken to these people, but the stats are really clear that a huge number of people there are born abroad. Well, and that's not Britain. And that the effort should be on the part of those that come here, now that they're maybe even first and second generation, rather than trying to make this, Kabul or Islamabad in London. Yeah. You're in Britain. Also, if you want to live in Islamabad or Kabul, why don't you stay there? It's a bit like the Palestinian protesters. What's the point protesting here? We can't do anything about what's going on. Go. Off you go. Off you toddle. Yeah, off to Gaza. I mean, I'm happy to help organise that flotilla. I really, really am. 11:27, it also improve the IQ of the country, no end. 11:27 is the time. I'm going to take a quick break. Then we're going to get to your calls. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call to have yours. In particular, I want to hear from you, your reaction to the Prime Minister saying it's, calling on students not to take part in what he called un-British protests, which are on the day of the anniversary of the October 7th Hamas massacre, but they're claiming is all about honouring our martyrs. Who's martyrs exactly?